The research vessel Aurora drifted silently through the uncharted sector of the Epsilon expanse. The fog hung thick and gray, clinging to the edges of the ship like a living thing. Captain Ilara Morgan stood at the observation deck, her hands resting lightly on the railing, eyes scanning the dense mist. The fog made everything seem unreal, as if the universe itself had paused to watch them. The silence of space around them was broken only by the faint hum of the ship's engines and the occasional creak of the hull adjusting to subtle gravitational shifts in the sector. Ilara had spent most of her career exploring regions of space that others considered dangerous or unprofitable. But the Epsilon expanse was different. No colony, no freighter, and no exploration team had returned from this sector in over a decade. And yet, here she was, leading a crew of the finest scientists, engineers, and explorers humanity could offer. She could feel the excitement building in the pit of her stomach. Some part of her knew this mission would change everything. The crew moved quietly through their stations, monitoring sensors and scanning for anomalies. Dr. Ryan Valen, the lead xenolinguist, hovered over a console, his brow furrowed as he studied the readings. Beside him, engineer Lila Chen checked the shuttle systems, making sure they were ready for any sudden mission. The crew had been trained for emergencies, but this fog, this strange energy that hummed just beneath the surface of the sector, made everyone tense. It was as though the expanse itself was watching them, waiting for their next move. Then, without warning, something appeared through the fog. At first, it was a faint shimmer, like sunlight reflecting on distant water. Ilara squinted, trying to focus. The shimmer grew brighter, forming the outline of a massive structure. The crew gasped in unison. It was a ship, but unlike any ship humanity had ever seen. The vessel floated silently, almost suspended in the fog. Its surface was dark and metallic, covered in strange etchings that glowed faintly. Lines ran across it in patterns that seemed to shift when observed, as if the ship were alive. It was enormous, far larger than the Aurora, yet it moved with a fluid grace, unaffected by the invisible currents of the fog. Dr. Valen's voice broke the silence, low and reverent. It's ancient, possibly older than any civilization we've recorded. Look at the etchings. They're not just decorative. They're symbols, communication. This ship is trying to tell us something. Ilara nodded slowly, her mind racing. Prepare the drones. We need to scan it from every angle. Keep the shields up, but don't engage. Let's see what we're dealing with before we touch it. The crew sprang into action. Small drones launched from the ship's bay, their lights cutting through the gray haze. The drones approached the vessel cautiously, sending back streams of data. The readings were inconsistent and strange. Energy levels fluctuated without pattern, defying all known laws of physics. The ship seemed to absorb and redirect energy around it, making sensors almost useless. "Captain, you need to see this," Dr. Valen said urgently, pointing to a monitor. On the screen, the vessel's surface shimmered, and the symbols appeared to move, rearranging themselves into forms that almost resembled letters. But they were not letters of any human or known alien language. Yet, for some reason, the crew felt as if the symbols were speaking directly to them. Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. She had faced danger before, in asteroid fields, rogue comets, and volatile stars. But this was different. The vessel was not just a machine. It was alive, or at least aware, and it knew they were watching. Hours passed as the Aurora remained in orbit near the vessel. The fog thickened, wrapping around the research ship like a shroud. The vessel did not move closer, but it did not retreat either. It seemed content to float, letting the humans observe, testing them in silence. Finally, Ilara made her decision. "We need to get closer. We can't understand it from here. Prepare a shuttle team. I'll go." The crew exchanged nervous glances. Boarding an unknown vessel in uncharted space was dangerous. The fog distorted sensors, and the ship's strange energy readings made even small movements unpredictable. But they trusted Alara, and they trusted each other. The shuttle was small but sturdy, designed for deep space exploration. As it descended through the fog, the vessel loomed larger and larger, its size and detail more astonishing up close. Alara could see massive doors, long corridors, and towers that rose like spires. The symbols on its surface pulsed with a soft light, illuminating the fog in patterns that seemed almost hypnotic. When the shuttle touched the vessel's surface, the metal was cold to the touch, yet it thrummed with energy beneath their hands. The doors opened silently, revealing a vast corridor. The walls pulsed with a gentle light, almost like a heartbeat. The crew stepped inside cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the empty space. Dr. Valen ran his hands along the walls, tracing the symbols. It's more than just decoration. These are memories of a civilization. The ship itself is a record, a library of knowledge, and it's alive. It responds to us. The corridors twisted and turned in ways that defied logic. Hallways appeared to stretch or shrink depending on where they stood. Doors led to rooms that were not where they should be, and windows showed views of stars in arrangements that did not exist in any known chart. Engineer Lila Chen tapped at a panel. Power levels are stable, but they're dynamic. This ship isn't running on anything we know. It's like it feeds on space itself. The team continued deeper, their fear tempered by curiosity. They found chambers filled with strange devices, some emitting light, others vibrating with energy that made their skin tingle. It was technology beyond human understanding, yet there was a pattern, a logic that hinted at intelligence. As they entered a central chamber, the vessel seemed to react. The walls shifted slightly, creating a circular room bathed in soft blue light. The air hummed with a sound that was not sound at all, a vibration felt in the bones. The symbols along the walls aligned into a single, continuous message, or what the crew assumed was a message. Dr. Valen tried to interpret it, feeling the weight of something immense. It's showing a story, a history of exploration, of civilizations rising and falling. It's incredible, and it's showing us the next step, something humanity can achieve if we are worthy. Alara felt a sense of awe she had never experienced. Humanity had always reached for the stars, but this was beyond reach, at least until now. The vessel was a test, but not one of strength or combat. It was a test of curiosity, intelligence, and courage. Suddenly, the walls pulsed brighter, and a door slid open at the far end of the chamber. Beyond it, the corridor seemed to vanish into light. The crew hesitated, unsure if they should proceed. Alara looked at them, her gaze steady. We came here to explore. This is what we were meant to find. Let's go. As they stepped into the unknown, the fog outside shifted, thickening and swirling like a living entity. From the observation deck of the Aurora, the rest of the crew watched in tense silence, unsure of what would happen next. The fog hid the shuttle from sensors, and for a moment, it seemed as though the vessel and the shuttle had become one with the mist, invisible to the world. Alara and her team walked through corridors that seemed endless, the light shifting and guiding them. Every corner revealed wonders, rooms filled with floating crystals, holographic stars, and machines that seemed to bend time itself. The vessel was alive in ways they could not fully comprehend. Hours, or maybe minutes later, they reached a chamber at the heart of the ship. The walls glowed brighter than ever, and a pedestal rose from the center, holding a small artifact pulsing with light. The artifact seemed to resonate with them, and when Alara reached out, she felt a connection, as if the ship itself was communicating. Dr. Valen whispered, "It's choosing us. We are part of its story now. It's teaching us, guiding us, testing us." Alara nodded. a sense of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Humanity had been given a gift, a chance to reach further than ever before. But with it came a warning. The universe was vast, mysterious, and full of unknown dangers. Only those who were brave, curious, and wise could navigate its depths. The shuttle crew took a moment to absorb the sight. They had found something incredible, something that could change the course of human history. And yet, they could not shake the feeling that the vessel was watching, waiting for the right moment to reveal its next secret. Outside, the fog continued to swirl, hiding the ship from the rest of the galaxy. But within its walls, a story had begun, one that would test humanity's courage, ingenuity, and unity. And Captain Ilara Morgan knew that whatever lay ahead, she and her crew were ready. The vessel had appeared from the mist, silent and ancient, and though it had not spoken a single word, it had already changed them. Humanity had glimpsed something greater than themselves, and the path forward was clear. Explore, learn, and rise to the challenge that awaited in the stars. The fog in the Epsilon expanse shifted again, almost as if acknowledging their presence. Somewhere deep within, the ancient vessel waited, patient and watchful, ready to reveal its mysteries to those who dared to understand. The shuttle hovered silently in the heart of the ancient vessel, its lights reflecting off the smooth, dark walls that pulsed faintly like a living organism. Captain Ilara Morgan led the crew deeper into the corridors, each step resonating softly in the immense silence. Every surface seemed to hum with energy, and the faint glow of symbols along the walls shifted as if responding to their movements. Dr. Ryan Valen moved carefully, his hands tracing the etchings. "These symbols," he whispered, almost to himself, "they're not just language. They're a map, or maybe a set of instructions, and somehow I feel like they're reacting to us, watching us." Lila Chen, the ship's engineer, glanced nervously at the glowing walls. "I've never seen energy behave like this. It's as if the ship is alive. Every pulse, every shimmer, there's a pattern, but it's not one we can predict. We have to be careful." The team continued down the twisting hallways, their senses heightened. The corridors seemed to shift subtly as they moved, lengths and angles changing in ways that made orientation difficult. At times, the doors they had passed moments ago were no longer there, replaced by walls etched with new patterns. It was disorienting, but also strangely beautiful. Finally, they reached a chamber larger than any hall or room they had encountered. The ceiling stretched high above, fading into a soft mist of light. At the center, a pedestal rose from the floor, holding a crystal orb that glowed with an inner fire. The orb seemed to pulse in sync with the crew's heartbeat, though none of them had realized it. Ilara approached slowly, her hand reaching toward the artifact. As she did, the walls of the chamber shifted, forming a series of images in light. They were visions of worlds that no human had ever seen. Cities of crystal spires, oceans glowing with bioluminescent life, skies filled with strange, soaring creatures. Other images showed civilizations collapsing, not from war or disease, but from arrogance and neglect, leaving behind only echoes of their achievements. Dr. Valen gasped. "It's showing us history. Civilizations across the galaxy, civilizations long gone. And it's showing us what they learned. This ship, it's a library, a guardian of knowledge." Ilara nodded, awe and caution mingling in her expression. "We need to document everything, every symbol, every vision. Humanity could learn more in a day here than in a century elsewhere. But we must also respect it. This ship isn't just a museum, it's alive. And it knows we're here." Lila knelt beside a panel embedded in the pedestal, scanning the orb with her instruments. "Captain, the energy levels, they're adapting. The orb is responding to our presence, but it's also influencing the chamber. The light, the images, it's almost as if it's teaching us, or testing us." Ilara's eyes narrowed. Testing us? How? Before Lila could answer, the orb pulsed, sending a wave of energy through the room. The crew felt a subtle pressure in their minds, a sensation like stepping into someone else's dream. The visions intensified, showing not only the rise and fall of civilizations, but also the choices their people had made, decisions about cooperation, curiosity, and courage. The orb seemed to measure how the crew reacted, as if weighing their minds and spirits against the lessons it held. Dr. Valen stepped closer, his voice trembling. It's not just showing us history, it's asking us to understand it, to learn from it. It's judging our ability to use this knowledge wisely. The chamber shifted again, walls expanding outward, revealing a series of hallways that radiated like the spokes of a wheel. Each path led to a different section of the ship, each glowing faintly with symbols that pulsed in a unique rhythm. Ilara looked at her team, determination in her eyes. We split up. Not far, but carefully. We need to map this place and see what it has to teach us. Stay in constant communication. Remember, the ship is alive. It may react to what we do. The team nodded, and cautiously, they moved down separate corridors. Ilara found herself in a hall lined with floating orbs of light, each containing a miniature holographic scene. She reached toward one, and instantly, a new vision unfolded, a world ravaged by storms of energy, its inhabitants struggling to survive against forces they could not control. She felt a pang of empathy, as if the room expected her to understand the consequences of failure. In another corridor, Dr. Valen encountered a room filled with structures that bent physics itself. Floating bridges connected towers that defied gravity, and energy flows traced arcs through the air without any visible source. He realized the ship was teaching them principles beyond their current technology, hints of science that could propel humanity forward by centuries. Lila discovered a chamber that hummed with mechanical energy. Strange devices rotated and shifted in patterns that seemed almost musical. When she touched one, it responded, projecting holographic schematics of advanced energy systems. "Captain," she said over the comms, "this ship is a treasure trove. The technology alone, it could change everything, if we can understand it." Ilara moved carefully through a corridor where the walls seemed to ripple like water. A voice echoed in her mind. Not words exactly, but ideas. The vessel communicated directly with her consciousness, guiding her understanding without speech. It was subtle, patient, yet insistent, encouraging her to see patterns, to make connections, to grow. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt fluid inside the vessel. The crew met back at the central chamber, each carrying notes, scans, and personal reflections. They shared their experiences, and it became clear the ship was alive in a way that transcended ordinary biology or machinery. It was a being of thought and energy, capable of shaping perception, teaching through experience, and judging the character of those who entered. Dr. Valen summarized their findings. "It's not dangerous in the traditional sense, but it will test us. It wants to see if we can learn, if we can be worthy of the knowledge it holds. If we fail, we may be forced to leave empty-handed, or worse, lose ourselves in the experience." Ilara's gaze lingered on the pulsing orb at the center of the room. "We will not fail. Humanity has always reached for the stars, even when it seemed impossible. We are explorers. We are curious. And we are united. If this ship is testing us, then it has chosen the right species." As they spoke, the orb pulsed brighter, and a new corridor appeared. It was wider and taller than any they had seen, stretching into a luminous mist that seemed almost like another dimension. The symbols along the walls rearranged themselves into patterns that felt like instructions. Dr. Valen leaned close to a glowing inscription. "It's guiding us," he said. "We are supposed to follow, to see what comes next." The crew moved as one, guided by instinct and intuition. As they walked, they encountered rooms filled with floating holograms of stars, galaxies, and systems unknown to human charts. Each projection contained lessons: how civilizations adapted, how energy could be harnessed without destruction, how knowledge could be preserved across millennia. The lessons were subtle, not handed on in manuals, but experienced through interaction and observation. At one point, Lila stopped, staring at a chamber filled with a field of floating energy spheres. She reached out, and the spheres responded, forming intricate patterns that represented complex energy cycles. "This is incredible," she whispered. "We can see the flow of energy in a way we never could before. It's like the ship is teaching us how to think differently." Ilara smiled faintly. "That's exactly what it's doing. It's teaching us not just facts, but how to learn, how to adapt, how to evolve." The deeper they went, the more responsive the vessel became. Doors opened as they approached, paths shifted to accommodate their curiosity, and visions emerged to challenge their understanding. It became clear the ship was testing their collective intelligence, their ability to cooperate, and their willingness to explore responsibly. Suddenly, a chamber appeared unlike any they had encountered. It was empty, save for a shallow pool of liquid that reflected the ceiling above, which shimmered with a kaleidoscope of stars. The crew gathered at its edge, mesmerized. When Ilara touched the surface, the reflection rippled, revealing visions of herself and her crew across countless futures, some triumphant, others filled with mistakes. Each image was a lesson, showing the outcomes of choices, both small and large. Dr. Valen's voice was solemn. "The ship, it's teaching us consequences. Not just knowledge, but wisdom. It wants to see if we can understand the ripple effect of our actions." Ilara nodded. "We will. Humanity has survived through curiosity, resilience, and unity. We will learn what it wants us to learn and carry it forward." As the day, or the endless sense of time, passed, the crew realized something extraordinary. The vessel had chosen to reveal itself gradually, offering lessons and experiences rather than raw answers. It was a mentor, a guardian, a living archive of civilizations that had risen and fallen. And most importantly, it was testing humanity's readiness for the challenges that awaited beyond the stars. By the time they returned to the central chamber, exhaustion mingled with exhilaration. The crew had seen wonders beyond imagination, absorbed lessons that could shape the future of human civilization, and understood that the vessel was alive in a way that no one had predicted. Ilara looked at her team, pride swelling in her chest. "We've only scratched the surface, but we know enough to move forward. This ship, it has faith in us. We need to honor that by learning, exploring, and understanding." Outside, the fog in the Epsilon expanse continued to swirl, a silent guardian of the secrets within. The vessel remained hidden, patient, and watchful, waiting for the crew to prove themselves worthy of its knowledge. Humanity had taken its first step into a larger universe, and the lessons of the ancient ship were only beginning to unfold. And as the shuttle prepared to move further into the vessel, the crew felt a quiet certainty. The challenges ahead would be immense, but with courage, curiosity, and unity, they would meet them, and humanity would rise to the occasion. The fog did not lift, but it did not need to. The ancient vessel, cloaked in mystery, had revealed its first truths. And for Captain Ilara Morgan and her crew, the adventure had only just begun. The deeper the shuttle ventured into the vessel, the more surreal everything became. Hallways twisted like liquid, reflecting light in ways that made the crew question their senses. Captain Ilara Morgan felt a strange mixture of awe and unease. The ship was alive in ways they could not fully understand. It was teaching them, guiding them, and yet somewhere deep beneath that guidance, there was a quiet awareness, an intelligence that observed their every move. Dr. Ryan Valen kept a close eye on the symbols along the walls. They had shifted again, forming patterns that seemed like questions rather than statements. The xenolinguist felt a strange sensation in his mind, as though the ship was trying to communicate directly, bypassing sound and language entirely. "Captain," he said, his voice careful, "the vessel, it's more than a library. It's an active participant in our journey. Every action we take, every choice we make, it's watching and learning from us." Lila Chen glanced at the glowing panels embedded in the walls. "I've tried scanning the energy flows, but they change too quickly. The ship reacts to us in real time. It's almost like it's alive, but more than alive, it's conscious." Ilara nodded, a shiver running down her spine. "Then we need to be careful. This isn't a simple exploration anymore. The ship is testing us, and we need to prove we're worthy of its trust." As they moved forward, the corridors opened into a chamber unlike any they had seen before. The walls pulsed with a gentle light, but it wasn't uniform. Patterns shifted, creating the impression of movement, like waves rolling across the surface of the room. At the center, a circular platform rose from the floor, its edges glowing with energy. The crew approached cautiously. Dr. Valen reached toward the platform. Instantly, the air seemed to vibrate. Images flashed before their eyes, worlds forming from dust, civilizations rising from primitive settlements, and stars igniting in brilliant bursts. It was a visual history of creation, evolution, and development, but it wasn't complete. Some sequences skipped forward, showing civilizations collapsing, fading into shadows. The vessel wasn't just showing the past, it was highlighting lessons, successes, and failures. Ilara felt a sudden weight in her chest, a realization that the ship was more than a teacher. It was a judge. Every civilization it had recorded had faced challenges, and their choices had determined their fate. The crew of the Aurora were not merely observers. They were participants in the next chapter of this vessel's story. Lila spoke softly, almost to herself. "It's preparing us, shaping us. The ship isn't just showing knowledge, it's showing consequences. Every action we take here matters, Captain. It could change the way it views us." The crew spent hours absorbing the visions, studying the patterns and exploring the chamber. The vessel's lessons were subtle, not handed down as instructions, but as experiences. Each holographic scenario required thought, understanding, and empathy. The more they interacted, the more the ship responded, shifting its halls and lighting to guide them deeper into understanding. Suddenly, the energy in the room pulsed sharply. The walls shimmered, and the light grew brighter, almost blinding. The crew instinctively stepped back. The ship's pulse seemed to align with their own heartbeats, synchronizing in a way that was both thrilling and disorienting. Dr. Valen pointed at the center of the platform. "Look, the orb, the same one from the central chamber. It's appearing here as well. I think it wants us to interact with it again." Ilara approached slowly, extending a hand. As she did, the orb emitted a soft, resonant hum that filled the room. She felt a connection, a mental thread linking her consciousness with the ship. Memories, ideas, and patterns flowed into her mind, not fully formed words, but concepts and visions that she understood instinctively. The ship was showing her how civilizations had thrived, how energy could be harnessed responsibly, and how curiosity and courage were the greatest tools of all. Lila and Dr. Valen watched, entranced, feeling similar connections as the orb pulsed with their presence. It was as if the vessel was weaving their minds into its history, testing their ability to absorb knowledge and act wisely. But then, something unexpected happened. The light began to flicker. The walls that had seemed steady and alive now wavered, like heat waves rising from a desert floor. The corridors that had been stable moments ago now seemed to shift unnaturally, stretching and contracting. Ilara's brow furrowed. Something's wrong. The readings are unstable. The ship, it's changing, and I don't think it's random. Dr. Valen analyzed the sensors, but the data was nearly impossible to interpret. It's as if the ship itself is fading. Some sections are disappearing from our instruments, from our perception. We're losing our connection to parts of it, Lila added, her voice tense. And the fog outside, it's getting thicker. The Aurora can't maintain a stable link. We might be cut off entirely if we stay much longer. Ilara made a quick decision. We proceed carefully. Document everything, but don't go too far. We need to understand what's happening, but we also need to survive. As they moved through the shifting corridors, the environment became increasingly unstable. Rooms appeared and vanished before their eyes. Hallways that had led them one way now curved impossibly, sometimes doubling back on themselves. The crew relied on instinct and the guidance of the glowing symbols, which seemed to respond to their thoughts and intentions. Then, the most astonishing phenomenon occurred. In the center of one chamber, they saw a vast open space filled with a swirling mist, the fog itself entering the vessel. Within the mist, the outline of another ship appeared. Massive and ancient, the same vessel they had first discovered from outside. And then, almost instantly, it began to dissolve, its form breaking apart into particles of light that were absorbed by the fog. Ilara's voice trembled slightly. It's vanishing. The ship is disappearing. Dr. Valen stared, awestruck. It's not destroyed, it's choosing to vanish. But why? Is it testing us further, or is it leaving? Lila's hands shook slightly as she adjusted her instruments. The energy readings, they're collapsing. If we don't leave soon, we could be trapped in a part of the vessel that ceases to exist entirely. Ilara nodded, her mind racing. We need to head back, gather everything we can, and move to the shuttle. But document as much as possible. This vessel, it's offering a part of itself, even as it disappears. The crew retraced their steps, though the corridors now seemed alien and unpredictable. Some hallways that had been solid moments ago now dissolved into mist, forcing them to navigate by instinct and intuition. Occasionally, symbols appeared in midair, guiding them, pulsing with light that seemed almost sentient. As they approached the central chamber once more, the artifact orb glowed brightly, as if calling them. Dr. Valen carefully lifted it, feeling a pulse of energy connect with his mind. The orb seemed to record their presence, storing their knowledge, experiences, and even their thoughts. It was a fragment of the ship itself, a seed of the ancient intelligence that had chosen to remain with them. Ilara carefully placed her hand on the orb as well, feeling the ship's essence flow into her mind. In a brief, intense moment, she saw visions of the galaxy as it could be. Stars connected by knowledge, civilizations sharing wisdom, and humanity standing among them, rising to new heights. The ship's lesson was clear. Courage, curiosity, and unity would allow humanity to thrive, even in the face of unimaginable mystery. Then the pulse stopped. The corridors solidified once more, but the fog outside the ship had thickened dramatically. From the shuttle viewport, the crew could see the vessel's outline dissolving, particles of light drifting upward and merging with the mist. Within moments, the ancient ship had vanished entirely, leaving only faint ripples in the fog as if it had never existed. Ilara took a deep breath. It's gone, at least for now. But it left something behind. Something we can use, learn from, and protect. Dr. Valen nodded, holding the orb carefully. This artifact, it's more than a relic. It's a repository of knowledge. The ship chose to share a part of itself with us. We've been entrusted with a responsibility far greater than we realized. Lila's voice was quiet but firm. We've seen wonders today, things no one else has, and humanity has proven itself worthy. The ship tested us and we passed, not through force, but through understanding, curiosity, and respect. Ilara surveyed her crew, pride swelling in her chest. We've taken the first step into a larger universe. The vessel has vanished, but its lessons remain. We must carry them forward, not just for ourselves, but for all of humanity. The shuttle slowly ascended through the fog, reconnecting with the Aurora. As they approached the ship, the fog seemed to shift subtly, almost like it recognized them, acknowledging that the mission had succeeded. The crew felt a quiet reverence. They had touched something ancient, something alive, and humanity had emerged wiser and stronger. As the Aurora prepared to leave the Epsilon expanse, the crew reflected on the experience. The vessel had tested them in ways they could not fully comprehend, yet it had also revealed possibilities beyond imagination. Humanity had always been explorers, and now the universe had answered their curiosity in a way that few could ever imagine. Captain Ilara Morgan stood at the observation deck, watching the fog swirl one last time. Somewhere within it, the ancient vessel lingered, hidden, patient, waiting for the next travelers worthy of its knowledge. Humanity had learned, adapted, and survived. And in doing so, they had earned a place in the story of the stars. The fog remained, thick and impenetrable, yet the hearts of the crew burned with clarity. They had faced the unknown, and they had not faltered. The vessel had vanished, but its lessons endured, a testament to human courage, intelligence, and unity. And somewhere, out in the uncharted depths of the galaxy, the ancient ship awaited the next challenge, quietly observing the species that had dared to understand. The stars beyond the mist shone with new possibilities, and the adventure was far from over. Humanity had glimpsed greatness, and now they were ready to claim it. The shuttle returned to the Aurora, carrying the artifact safely in its containment field. The fog outside still hung thick and gray, as if the Epsilon expanse itself were guarding the secret of the vanished vessel. Captain Ilara Morgan watched from the observation deck, her mind racing with everything they had seen. The crew was tired but exhilarated, and the air aboard the ship was filled with quiet chatter, scientists and engineers discussing the lessons they had absorbed and the technology they had glimpsed. The artifact pulsed faintly, resonating with the minds of the crew who had touched it. Dr. Ryan Valen was the first to speak, carefully studying its energy signature. "This is remarkable. The vessel has left behind a fragment of its intelligence. It's not just a memory. It's a living record, and it contains knowledge that could advance humanity by centuries." Lila Chen adjusted her instruments, scanning the orb once more. The energy is stable, but dynamic. It adapts to whoever interacts with it. It's like it's designed to teach continuously, not just to store information. We've been given something that can grow with us, not something frozen in time. Ilara nodded, a sense of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Then we must protect it. We must understand it. Humanity has been entrusted with a part of a civilization older than any we've known. This is not just discovery, it's a duty. The crew gathered in the central hub of the Aurora, and Ilara addressed them. "We've seen wonders that few could imagine. We've witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the depth of knowledge a species can achieve, and the intelligence of a vessel that has transcended time itself. And now, we carry a part of it with us. This artifact is proof that humans can rise to challenges beyond comprehension, but we must use it wisely." Dr. Valen activated a projection from the artifact. Holographic images filled the room, showing star systems, complex energy flows, and devices that bent the known laws of physics. The crew marveled. understanding intuitively the vast potential contained in what they had retrieved. It was not just technology, it was philosophy, wisdom, and a way of thinking that could change everything. Lila spoke softly, almost in awe. "We can't just replicate this technology. It's teaching us how to think differently, how to adapt, and how to innovate. The ship didn't just give us answers, it gave us the ability to ask the right questions." Ilara placed her hand lightly on the projection, feeling the hum of energy resonate with her own heartbeat. That is humanity's greatest strength: curiosity, intelligence, and the willingness to work together. The vessel chose us because we have those qualities, and now we must prove worthy of its trust. The days following their return to the main ship were filled with intense study. Scientists, engineers, and philosophers worked together, exploring the artifact's knowledge, deciphering patterns, and testing ideas. Each discovery opened more questions than answers, but every question was a step forward. Humanity was learning faster than ever before, guided by the lessons of a civilization that had long vanished. Ilara often visited the artifact, spending hours contemplating its lessons. She realized that the ship had taught them not just science or technology, but the essence of progress, observation, adaptation, and responsibility. The artifact recorded their growth, responding to their successes and guiding them gently when they stumbled. It was alive but benevolent, and it demanded wisdom in return for knowledge. One evening, as the Aurora drifted through a sector filled with unfamiliar stars, Dr. Valen approached Ilara. "Captain, I think we've discovered something extraordinary. The artifact contains maps, star routes, and energy manipulation techniques that could allow us to travel faster, harness resources more efficiently, and communicate over vast distances. But it also contains warnings, lessons about arrogance, greed, and misuse of power. The vessel wanted to ensure we would not repeat the mistakes of past civilizations." Ilara nodded gravely. "Then we must be cautious. Knowledge without wisdom can destroy as easily as it can create. Humanity has been given a chance, but it's only valuable if we choose to use it responsibly." Lila joined them, holding a holographic projection of a device that could manipulate energy fields. "Captain, I've been experimenting with small-scale simulations. If we follow the principles in the artifact, we could develop energy systems that last for generations without harming planets or ecosystems. The ship didn't just leave knowledge, it left a blueprint for sustainable progress." Ilara smiled, hope mingling with determination. "Then let's make sure humanity follows that path. We've seen what happens when civilizations fail to learn. We've seen the consequences of arrogance, but we've also seen the triumph of curiosity, courage, and unity. Those are the qualities we must carry forward." Weeks passed, and the crew made steady progress. The artifact continued to respond to their efforts, guiding them to insights that seemed almost impossible. Slowly, humanity began to understand the principles of the vessel's knowledge: energy that could flow without loss, communication across light years, and the philosophy of observing and learning from other civilizations without interference. Ilara stood on the observation deck one evening, watching the stars stretch into the infinite darkness. She thought of the vanished vessel, now hidden in the fog of the Epsilon expanse. It had tested them, taught them, and left a part of itself with humanity. And though it had disappeared from sight, its presence remained, a silent guardian, a mentor, and a challenge to rise to greater heights. Dr. Valen joined her, pointing toward a cluster of distant stars. "We've been given a roadmap, Captain. Not a fixed path, but guidance. We can explore further, build stronger connections with the universe, and learn from others, but we must do it carefully, respectfully, and wisely." Ilara nodded, her gaze fixed on the expanse before them. Humanity has faced countless challenges, both on Earth and among the stars. But this is the greatest opportunity yet. We've been entrusted with a fragment of a civilization older than we are, and now it's our responsibility to rise to the occasion. As they continued their journey, the crew realized that the lessons of the vessel extended beyond science and technology. They were learning about collaboration, empathy, and patience. The artifact encouraged them to work together, combining their individual strengths to solve complex problems. In doing so, they discovered that humanity's greatest power lay not in machines or weapons, but in unity and ingenuity. The months following their return from the vessel were filled with remarkable progress. The crew developed new energy systems based on principles observed in the artifact. Communication technology improved dramatically, allowing messages to travel further and faster than ever before. Exploration missions became safer and more efficient, guided by the knowledge contained in the vessel's fragment. Alara often reflected on the journey. She realized that the ship had tested them not through danger or combat, but through wisdom and perception. Humanity had succeeded because they embraced curiosity, showed resilience, and respected the unknown. The vessel's lesson was clear. The universe would challenge those who sought to explore it, but those who approached with courage, intelligence, and unity would thrive. One day, as the aurora passed through a dense nebula, the artifact pulsed brightly, projecting a holographic message. It was a vision of the vanished vessel, but not in its original form. It shimmered with energy, existing beyond physical space, a consciousness moving through the galaxy. The message was simple, but profound. Knowledge must be earned, shared responsibly, and protected. Alara addressed her crew, her voice steady and inspiring. "We have been chosen as stewards of this knowledge. It is our duty to use it wisely, to explore further, and to prepare humanity for the challenges ahead. The vessel may be gone, but its lessons remain, and now we carry them forward." The crew worked tirelessly, integrating the artifact's knowledge into human technology, philosophy, and culture. Education programs were developed to teach future generations the principles they had learned. Exploration missions expanded humanity's reach, guided by the wisdom of the ancient vessel. Humanity's potential had grown, and the stars were no longer distant mysteries. They were opportunities waiting to be understood. Alara often thought of the fog in the Epsilon expanse. The vessel had disappeared into it, silent and patient. But she knew it was watching, waiting for humans to rise to new challenges. And humanity had proven itself worthy. They had learned, adapted, and embraced the unknown with courage and intelligence. As the Aurora continued its journey, the crew marveled at the universe with renewed wonder. Stars, planets, and civilizations awaited discovery, but now humanity was prepared. They had faced the unknown, learned from it, and emerged stronger. The artifact served as a reminder of their responsibility and potential, a beacon of hope and knowledge that would guide them for generations. Captain Alara Morgan stood at the observation deck one last time, watching the stars stretch infinitely before her. Humanity had taken its first step into a larger universe, guided by the wisdom of a civilization older than time itself. The vessel had vanished, but its legacy endured. The fog of the Epsilon expanse remained, thick and impenetrable, but it no longer seemed threatening. It was a guardian, a reminder of what had been learned and what remained to be discovered. Humanity had been tested, and they had succeeded. The universe had offered a challenge, and humanity had met it with courage, intelligence, and unity. And somewhere, beyond the reaches of known space, the ancient vessel drifted in the fog, patient and silent, waiting for the next explorers who might one day understand the depths of its wisdom. For Captain Alara Morgan and her crew, the journey had changed everything. They had witnessed the impossible, learned from the past, and carried forward the knowledge of a civilization older than humanity itself. The stars were now within reach, and humanity was ready to rise to its destiny. The universe stretched out before them, full of mystery and promise. And humanity, guided by the lessons of the vanished vessel, would explore it with courage, intelligence, and a sense of wonder that would ensure their survival and growth for generations to come.